Hey, it's AC. Welcome to my house, and I'm super excited about today's episode. So thank you for tuning in live or watching later, whether it's on YouTube, listening to the podcast. The House of AC appreciates you and AC himself. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is what we got going on. I also want to say thank you to our sponsor, Jasmine Mortgage Team. Get your mortgages from Jasmine Mortgage Team. I do. I get my personal mortgages there. I get my refinances there. Licensed in 48 states. So wherever you are, unless you're in New York or Hawaii, call someone else. But otherwise, Jasmine Mortgage Team is going to help you out. All right. So today is going to be the smartest guest we've ever had on the show, and it's going to be amazing to have your minds blown by this gentleman who was my former roommate in Brooklyn. And it's kind of cool to just say, we'll probably discuss this, but all my roommates have ended up being way more successful than me. So and I was the landlord, so I thought I was ahead of the game back then. But these guys have hockey sticked past me. So Sharif Corinaldi is our guest today. A little bit about him. And he might correct me if I'm wrong, but if my memory serves me correct, graduated from Brown, instantly got a job as a computer programmer for a hedge fund in New York City. Spent his entire, early 20s. We spent our 20s together. He was hard at work getting another undergraduate degree, and then building bots to do his stock trading. And then he decided to get a physics degree, PhD at UC-Berkley. So like this guy doesn't take shortcuts. Like Sharif is like, anything you can do, I can do it on the hardest level. And now he's just perfected his life through a bunch of awesome robot life hacks that I'm so excited to catch up with him. So let's bring him into the stream here. Welcome to the show, Sharif.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, AC. It's so wild. It's so wild that you were Alan for so long, but now you've shortened it. You're like an NFL player now.
Well, yeah, it's I don't know. It could be the House of Alan Corey, but
it's too long. It's hard to search.
Too long. But so yeah, we were in the House of Clowns together, and I shared this story. Yeah, like how do you explain the House of Clowns to people?
So I think the House of Clowns is pretty cool because it was like all a bunch of just dudes in their early, mid, maybe late 20s in Brooklyn, and we all met through just a wonderful community. Excuse me, of improvisers, man, improv comedy. And I don't even know how I met you. I think it was like, it was a message board or Sean Taylor or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was all comedians because that's the only people I knew in New York. And I was, oh, you need a room? I've got a room. I just bought a duplex. I've got 5 extra bedrooms.
Right.
And
like that was how it happened. I do like just to set the tone. You were very kind in your intro. You were correct about everything.
Oh, sweet.
About like just like all the details of whatever stuff. I will say that you were the first person that in real life, like you kind of hear about people like kind of like having money and like acting like an owner. This is before all of this was kind of like I think before like kind of this, financial literacy had kind of bubbled into the greater internet. And I think you were one of the first people that really it really inspired me of like, damn, this dude, I remember thinking like this dude can just lay down on his back in his bedroom and get money to pay where he lives. Like that blew my mind because I was like, oh, I'm like programming computers. This is fine, I guess, but like, damn, like I pay Alan. Like it's wild because like usually it used to be like an old. At Brown, it was like I'd pay a dorm fee or I'd pay like something. Right. But like I'm paying just a guy in some shitty jeans that does comedy with me, and I was like, damn it, people could do this. Oh, this could just be done. Yeah. So I want to thank you for that. Well, and, I appreciate that.
Oh well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for saying that. And my memories of you were. You were always programming, and obviously I was all in this real estate and trying to learn stocks, but you were at the time programming bots in our living room that would, from this is the way I explain it to people, but this could be completely wrong.
Yeah,
you would wait till the bot would wait till the close of the Japanese stock market, download whatever the values were,
Yeah.
and then you'd run some algorithm based on that,
Right.
and then you would automatically have it make purchases for you at the open of the U.S. stock market. Is that right?
That is true. I mean, so, but like, I wish it worked better. I'll say that. Like, it's definitely, I worked hard. Like, I definitely worked hard on it, and there was, and the idea was you want to get the most up to date data. So for a long time, I was obsessed with kind of passive incomes. I think a lot of your listeners are, like, just folks today are really thinking about this. Like, how do I get paid? You know, as you say, I think I've seen one of your things, like, get paid while I'm dreaming, right? Is that yeah, right? Like, just get paid, whatever. Like, you're off doing your thing and you're getting paid.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I spent a lot of time on the stock market. On, like, maybe there's a way to automate stock trades, and I don't have to be that great at it, but I can be okay at it, and kind of. And so part of that, the way the Japanese stock market stuff entered was because you want to gobble up as much up-to-date data as you can.
Right.
And when the Nikkei, I think it's the Nikkei, forgive me, all the folks who know the name of the Japanese stock market. But when it closes, that's like roughly around the time when you're going to get the freshest data you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so that was part of what I would do. I also download stuff from, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the futures and all that stuff too.
Are you still doing that, or was that just the early 20s experiment?
Sad story, man. So I did that. I fooled myself, and actually, I think this will come in a little bit with what we discuss later about real estate stuff. But I did something that I think a lot of folks experience now, where I had something that I thought worked, and I kind of got sloppy.
Yeah.
I got greedy. I got sloppy, and I was not rigorous in my decision making, as I put it now. And I lost like 30K. It was like, fuck this, this is stupid. This is too hard. What am I doing? Like, after laying on the ground, like, fetal position for a while, I was like, ah. So no, I cut that out.
Yeah.
Cut that out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's obviously led to an awesome career. And maybe before we dig a little bit deeper, I just want to give a shout out to some of our roommates that have made it.
Yeah,
like we were that House of Clowns produced some
Tell me, I haven't heard from.
Okay, so Josephine Decker, she just released a movie last week.
It's true.
She's had like 3 or 4 blockbuster, she's LA
Butter on the
director.
Latch, Malice Madeline. I'm in touch with her. She has 2 kids, and I know her and her fellow. They're out in LA, and she's done awesome stuff.
She's done well, and then I'm trying to think when the overlap, but Charlie Sanders and John Daly, they made they're in the comedy shows all the time in LA.
I do see Dale's here and there.
Oh, really?
I do see like things of his around, and of course. He and Nick Kroll, I know, had a show for a while. Nick Kroll is super huge. So
yeah, right. So it's kind of fun to just be like, man, House of AC needs to that should be the reality show. I
do think also, and you're being very kind, but I think it's also worth pointing out that you were one of the original hackers, right? Like, if people, I hope your listeners have Googled you to see your appearances on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, on Jerry Springer, on I think you even have a one-man show, which I have shown to other people years after it's heads of hey, actually, there's a guy I know who's made his business to get on TV in a variety of ways, and actually had a good one-man show about it. So I hope you count yourself as folks that have gone on to do and have done interesting things.
I remember when I sold my house that was made over on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, the House of Clowns that we're talking about. I told the realtor, I was like, this house was made over on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and the Avril Lavigne, my next door neighbor was a photographer, and Avril Lavigne got her album shots in the backyard. I was like, these are cool New York stories. They're really I don't. None of that matters.
Yeah, it's fine, dude. Yeah. What is the plumbing situation in this? You're like, Avril Lavigne was near these pipes, dog.
No one's gonna pay extra for all this information you're giving me. I'm like, Sharif Corinaldi lived in this bedroom. Right
unsuccessful
here.
Stock market programmer. Sharif Corinaldi. Yeah.
So okay, so I want to get back to machine learning, physics, and all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah, man.
So you did the stocks. You learned a lot. You're doing cool things. Talk about making money in your sleep, the passive income, the bots, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was
To
gonna
that. Yeah.
I was gonna take this into. I saw you on Vice TV getting interviewed
Oh. Oh God, yeah.
about this dating app that a
Yeah.
bot that ran your dating online dating account. So can you give us a background on that? Yeah.
Sure. So I think it's one of those cases of where um, when you're a hammer, everything is a nail. Like you're just like, I know what I'll do. Let me program my way around this. Like it's like, I want to make money. Let me program my way around this. And so, of course, as a natural kind of continuation, I wound up. I after House of Clowns actually moved to Berkeley, California, where I did get a PhD in physics, but along the way, kind of doing that, I actually I had to like leave all my friends behind. It's actually a pretty lonely experience. It's pretty difficult to do. I was like 30, and all these like children were like 22, and were just like crushing me in physics prelims and things. So I was like, and so I just wanted to and I had to split with who I was dating in New York, and so I wanted to find someone to go out with. And I tried online dating. I thought it was okay. I enjoyed going on dates, but it was just like a lot of menial kind of like click. This is back in the Ok Cupid days. And so what I wound up doing was actually kind of stumbling into a kind of hack for that, right. Which essentially came when I programmed the computer to download the images and profile details of all the women that were like close to me, so I could like get like an infinite scroll thing going. It's like an easier user interface to like go through as efficiently as possible. And so I wound up making a bot. It wound up actually I set it running one night, and then I went to just go home and go to sleep from doing some grading papers or whatever. And when I woke up, I had gotten like 40, 50 messages or something crazy.
Oh, wow.
Which I was like, oh my God, right? It was like, how could this have happened? And what happened was my bot, when it was browsing, was actually pinging women, which OkCupid used to have as a feature. It's like ping them like, hey, someone's checking you out right now. Oh my God, check them out. And so it happened. And so I did that for like 10,000, I mean, not even like 10,000, 4,000 women over the course of the night. Yeah. And some percentage of them were like, oh, this guy seems interesting. Let me write to him. Right. And it wound up being a pretty powerful hack. That was like the genesis of Yay Dating, service that is,
Well, so obviously what did it also sort of auto chat or not, or is it just sort of matchmaking?
It didn't auto chat. It actually, I eventually like tuned it to kind of go by the specific tastes of the person who, the person who I was running it for, and I made it so it could be used. I white labeled it, so like I ran it for my roommate, I ran it for my other roommates later, I ran it for my brother, like, and I wound up using it for years. Like it was just like a thing I would just do sometimes if I was like either in a new city, or was just like kind of tapped out on the dating front and was like, damn, I need to meet some new women and go on dates. I could run it. So
well, it was successful. I know that you met.
That's how I met my wife. Yeah,
that's how you met your wife. Okay, when I heard it was you met your girlfriend.
Right. Time has passed. Yeah.
Okay, so now it's met your wife,
and actually how my brother met his wife.
No way.
I will not name because I don't know if they've told their friends that. But it is how my brother met his wife, was actually through the program. We ran it for him, and it was someone he met through it.
I mean that's that you could sell that. I mean there's dating shows like online, like you could sell like, but you put it up for free for OkCupid, but is it just sort of dormant now, or is it?
It's dormant. I put it up for free on OkCupid, and actually what happened was I even reached out to OkCupid. I was like, hey, I kind of have this thing. I hope y'all aren't going to sue me or whatever. I was like, I actually made one for Plenty of Fish and for Match, and they both threatened to sue me. So I was like, let me turn this off. Actually, another mishap, I'll say, for the bot. It was not all nice dinners and kind of hilarity, because actually when the first person I ever told about who I was on a date with was my wife, because we were at a restaurant on our first date. And she was like, I think, the woman who had become my wife, she was like, I think you know my roommate too, or something. Like she was saying, and I was like, no, I really don't. I'm sorry. I've never seen you or your roommate in your life. And she's like, no, I'm pretty sure you have. Like you're checking, like, because she said you're checking her out on her profile like a bunch of times, like even like up to this date, like all the time. You're like stalking her. And what had happened was I actually there's a bug in the
Yeah.
bot, and so it was just like browsing, just a T
Constant
1000, yeah,
profile.
just stalking, just hitting up every woman in Brooklyn. So I actually was like caught, and I was like, oh shit. Well,
Yeah.
here is why that is happening. And the way that we tell it to our friends is I can't say that she laughed, but she agreed to go on a date with me again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did any of the other girls? Did you just keep it to yourself, or
I kept it to myself. I never,
Yeah.
never mentioned that to anybody.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know.
No one's going to be like feel good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fell in love with a robot. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even now, like we joke about like what batch she was. Like she was like batch number 27 or something of the night, and I was like, oh, let's just get through these. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, and
Thank you.
You've got a family now.
I do. I have a two. One of the reasons I think that I don't like have any, not interest, but I don't have the energy to kind of like do these projects is because I have a 2.5-year-old, man, and just I know you have a few, but you're out here in the after times where they go to school. So for me, my son is mostly hanging out with my wife and I, and so he's like in that room. So I gotta, I don't do much. I hang out with him and work.
Yeah. So you're based in Brooklyn,
I'm based in Brooklyn.
and you are house hacking in Brooklyn.
Yeah, man.
So walk us through how
Yeah.
you got into real estate, the purchase, was it a sales pitch to the wife, or was this pre-wife? I want to hear how you got into real estate.
Yeah.
After paying me rent and feeling bad about it.
I was like, what? Oh my God, Alan did this. Yeah, man. So it was definitely inspired by that. It's definitely inspired by the process of renting from like a friend of mine and being like, oh, this is totally an achievable thing. Also, my friend Greg, who lives in San Francisco, who I've known for many years, has just kind of also been a successful house hacker. Who he kind of grew up around it, and it was like his parents also were investors in real estate, and so he was he's been kind of come by it naturally. For me, I think the process, and this is what I would, in terms of just like to actually speak to the listeners here about like things that may hopefully will be useful from just like my prattlings or my musing here. I really worked on making a rigorous decision, man, which it sounds like obvious. Like, of course you want to be rigorous. There's so much money involved. But what I have seen with a lot of folks as people have gotten older and people try different investments and people work on, the different projects, be it Bitcoin or, or stock market stuff or whatever, a lot of times people will kind of make the decision like internally based on very little evidence and then find a way to justify it. Like, it's like, damn, I feel like I should, buy this house or buy this property. And you're like, okay, but like, why? Like, what's the? It's like, and they're like, I don't know. Maybe it just kind of feels right. I have a member of my family who does a lot. He's a young cousin who is like got really into investing, and it was not rigorous. It was the thing where like, this stock feels like it'd be a great stock, and I kind of want. And he just like, because it just came up on his Twitter feed, and he's like threw money into it. He lost a fair amount of money, and this is a hardworking dude. So it was rough, it was a kind of a rough process. And so I think being in physics grad school where you're just all about the numbers, like you're just all about metrics, you're all about numbers, you're all about understanding natural phenomenon quantitatively, like that was really actually very useful grounding for entering the New York City real estate market. Yeah. So I'll pause there.
Yeah. So, yes, a lot of people make emotional decisions, especially for their house, which is, I understand that. And I get that if it's a primary residence purchase, because you're building, it's a lifestyle decision. Right. It's like, what outfit am I going to wear today? What am I going to prioritize my vacations? Like this is your daily life. So I get it. And, I'll even tell some of my clients as a realtor, they're asking X, and you're allowed to pay as much as you want over. The appraisals and the data say this, but it might be worth it more to you than it does anyone else in this city because you really, really, really want 3 fireplaces in every bedroom, right? Or whatever it is. Like, you really, really want a pool, and you're willing to pay extra, and this is the only house that has a pool in the school district. Like, that's a lifestyle decision. But then I say, if you're investing in an investment that's going to make you money, you can't have any emotion. What does it look like on a spreadsheet? That you want it sexy on a spreadsheet, not sexy in real life. Like, I had a guest, Eric Hughes, come on, and he's like, none of my properties are like things you drive by and be impressed by, but you will be impressed by my lifestyle.
If you see the numbers.
If you see the numbers and you see that I don't have to have a day job because I own all these ugly properties. So, so what's the data that you sort of zeroed in on in New York City?
So I think that's a good thing for folks to realize, and I want to echo it. It's like emotion really, you want to be passionate about it because you want to have the energy to pursue the rigor. But ultimately, it's a numbers decision. And so for my case, what that looked like about having a rigorous decision was twofold. One, talking to folks like yourself, who just do this for a living all day, every day, right? So like, you really can't underestimate, you can't, maybe you can, I don't know how to put this, but like, you really shouldn't underestimate a human being's expertise in something that they just have been doing for years. Like, just something that someone's been doing every day for years. It's just gold, and it just is like some of the most valuable things on planet Earth are actually just like expertise. And that's why people will pay so much money to, whatever, surgeons or, business developers or, very talented athletes. It's because they have profound expertise in all of the details of exactly how to maneuver their body in such a way to score a goal or whatever, or just to, to make sure the surgery goes, smoothly. So I talked to a lot of folks. I interviewed a good buddy of mine, Niyama, who I went to college with, who's just an investor, real estate investor. And I asked him a bunch of questions. I took notes. I asked a bunch of other folks. I talked to realtors. My wife is very knowledgeable about, local city politics and neighborhoods in Brooklyn. So I talked to her for quite a lot. And the other side of it was really getting into the numbers of what is this price? What is this house actually worth? So like, I actually wrote a scraper for Zillow that just scraped all the properties on Zillow within like, tens of miles of my area. And then in Virginia Beach, where my family is from, and then in a few other cities too. So
Zillow has its own data and their own algorithms, and they're saying this is what it's worth, but you're saying, I don't really trust Zillow's algorithm. I just want the purchase price and the list price. I'm gonna make up my own algorithm.
And I didn't just do this purchase price, list price. I also downloaded like square footage, all the details that you would find on a Zillow profile. Pools, whatever, etc., like location, distance to subway. And I'll say this too for folks who might be listening to this podcast and be like, well, all right, I'm not a programmer. Who cares? Like, thanks, nerd. You don't have to do that per se, but it often comes from just looking at them a lot and making a spreadsheet. Like, you can make a spreadsheet, anybody can, and you can fill in the blanks on properties and just get data in that way. It's a little tedious. You put on some music, maybe you do like 10 or 15 a day or something. But you want to build up those instances and build up your own bag of data when you're first gathering data. So there's two parts to rigorous decision making, in my mind. One of which is gather data, get input from folks, input that you don't know, things that you don't know that don't come from you. It doesn't come from your emotions, comes from the world, from nature. And the other part is, now you have some data, have a hypothesis, and don't be afraid for it to be wrong. Test it. It's a very scientific method approach where you think like, okay, I have a bunch of data, I have a guess about what something should be worth or what it will be worth in a few months, etc. And I'm going to test that out. And maybe that means you pick some winners. You pick, I think these houses will be worth this amount, or I think this is a good bet for whatever. And then maybe you back test that guess, or you test that guess now. And then if you're wrong, you say, oh shit, I was wrong. Great, I learned that.
Yeah, yeah. And so you would basically just follow up on your data and say, did this actually sell for what I thought it was going to, or whatnot,
Right.
and then readjust.
Right.
So did you find the house at you have a duplex in Bed-Stuy? Is that right?
I duplex in Bed-Stuy. It was it was not like distressed or anything, but it was
Yeah.
it was like one woman was living in the upper unit and then kind of had like a kind of a basement set up where she was having
So was this like a gold nugget that you found in your data, or
it was interesting, man, because
yeah,
like you very quickly get into the problems of data maintenance where like all the ones that like looked like gold nuggets where I was like, oh my god, this many bedrooms, probably in this square footage, this close to a subway, this is gonna make
yeah,
a lot of money. And then by the
yeah,
time you would go to it, like the sharks, like
yeah,
yourself, like you,
yeah,
had already been in there, just like already like nailing like a like their deed or like kind of like staking their claim to it.
yeah,
So I quickly ran into kind of like the limitations for what I was able to do, just like because I was working full time, and so
right,
I couldn't like go to like housing court to like find the places that are like foreclosed or whatever.
yeah,
But I did get a feel for the landscape and the neighborhoods that were probably going to do pretty well based on examining the data and like testing out theories.
right,
So I actually just wound up having like at some point I was like, damn, any place in Bed-Stuy because it's like 2018. I was like, any
right,
player in Bed-Stuy, I'll just take it anywhere, please God. And then I wound up meeting, reaching out to Marcia Yard, who was the real estate agent. Shouts
yeah,
out Marcia, she did great
yeah,
from Douglas Elliman.
yeah,
Y'all hit him up. Oh, and Jasmine.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was who I met through that and through that exploration. Talked to her when we made the deal.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Which is, I got to say, I am more of a gut guy. I go by the gut. Like I like the gut of this neighborhood. I see,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm visual. I see like, they're renovating over here. They're building something new over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my head, it's like those guys have a lot of money and a lot of algorithms.
Right.
If they're investing here, then I need to be investing here. And I
Right.
piggyback off other people. But
Right.
it's awesome to, like, that you take this in your own hands and you take the data and run with it. Like,
Yeah, and I do think though that it's still, and there is a part of that too. I think the key thing though is that you're somebody who's done it like every day for years.
yeah,
Because at
yeah,
that point you can then like your brain's downloaded the thousands and thousands of spreadsheets. That way, it's
yeah,
all just in your head walking
yeah,
around,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is how most all expertise is. So
right.
from me, like I was a total noob to this stuff. So I couldn't afford to do that. If I went there, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
This
right,
is
right,
well,
right.
this is that building looks nice. Let's go." So I think there's a mix. There's room for folks who once you've really got experience, just you have a feel for it.
What was there a little bit of like, this is scary. I don't trust what the realtor is possibly saying or what Zillow is saying. But if I have a bot that runs data, then I trust that and I feel more comfortable making a big purchase.
For sure, absolutely. And I
Okay.
think that like had I even I think our initial meeting, like our initial meeting with the woman Dawn, who was the previous homeowner, like that didn't go great. Like I was kind of like, this is real. This is actually way further from the train. Like
Yeah.
I knew like on paper how far it was from the train, but then like actually the walk there, I was like, oh man, yeesh. This probably I don't know. I was kind of feeling so about it after even the first meeting. But no, I mean just the numbers kind of bore it out, and we're like, no, this is a good bet.
Yeah.
And they turned out to be correct. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So now you've got a situation where you live in upstairs or then downstairs unit.
I live in neither actually.
Oh,
I am full landlord, man. I rent someplace else.
oh,
Um,
oh my God. Oh, okay. So let's, I love this. I love this.
yeah,
So
yeah,
where you live right now, you're renting and paying a landlord.
that's true.
Okay. But you
It just
originally bought a
trickles
house
all the way
hack.
down.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was financially in your best interest to say, wait a minute, if I can rent out both of these units, it'll pay, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It pays its own mortgage with like $1,000 roughly, if nothing breaks. which is
Wait. So your duplex now, one unit the whole thing pays your mortgage plus $1,000.
That's right.
Okay, and then so that $1,000 goes to what you're paying in rent right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And and the decision was of just this is an investment property. This is not a place necessarily that I wasn't in like a hurry to move where I was currently living, so I was like, let me just buy this as like an investment property and see. And so that wound up kind of working out. Actually,
are you looking for more real estate?
Man, I mean, I gotta go back. So my current situation now, and this place is appreciated nicely, partially because subway distance doesn't matter that much because of COVID. Frankly, it's actually like it wound up working out pretty well, and the neighborhood has kind of picked up, and so it's appreciated. Right now I'm probably not because I have a young child and. I do work full time, so I will say this also, closing the deal, which I know you have a lot of expertise in, and then having contractors come in and having to get all that stuff working. Yeah. That was really time consuming, man. That was extremely time consuming. I'm glad I did it, of course. Right. But it was, it took its time. So I'm not there yet with the energy.
Yeah. So are there any cool bots that you're working on now? Machine learning sort of gigs or you're just family man, dad? At this point?
Yeah. So the things that I have been watching. So for real estate and the stock market stuff, there's not a lot of bot stuff. There was I've just been kind of in ever since that kind of real estate purchase. I work full time as a programmer for a Silicon Valley company now, and so all of the bots now are for someone else's profit essentially.
Yeah, right.
But I have there are things that I do watch. I think especially around the crypto space, man. I don't understand it, right? I know.
Wait, are you into crypto?
No, I'm not huge into it, man. So that's why I'm definitely super curious.
You got to be into it.
I know you were I paid a little bit of attention to it, but not that much.
Yeah.
I know you were big into it, and so what I've kind of just wrestled with consistently with that space, and so I pay attention to it a little bit, is just the amount of just volume that the space puts out.
Yeah,
I think is something that is really and it's got enough kind of technical things going on to it. I know folks have made quite a lot of money, and I'm still how could you possibly? But I think it's a place where it's actually really confounded my ability to make bots and get get my arms around it quantitatively.
Yeah,
because there's just so much content and so much of it is secret.
Yes.
So. I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Well, I think it's difficult for you, potentially, based on the way you think, because it's so unpredictable. You can have all the data and you can't model it, because there'll be a war that happens. There'll be interest rates rise. There'll be a pandemic. All this stuff is just. People in hindsight are saying, oh, we think the price just doubled because of this, or it halved because of that. So if you try to build an algorithm or a bot to monitor this and say, no, now's a good opportunity to buy, and now's a good opportunity to sell, I think you can't win because it's so unpredictable. Right. Yeah. So I'm using the spray and pray approach. Just put a little bit and all these 10,000 different coins.
Right.
One of them will hit big, hopefully.
It seems like it, right? I think that, and honestly, that kind of just to go back to what you were just saying, that is what I found when I was actually really spending time on the stock market, because the stock market is kind of this just the traditional, if you just study the numbers and kind of treat it quantitatively, you should be able to make a lot of money. At least that's my thinking of it, right?
Yeah.
That's when you see these hedge funds are making infinite cash or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going based off of their gut feeling. Some of this, maybe they are, but they seem to be going off a lot of data and all this different stuff. And so I kind of went in and tugged that thread of well, let me try. I spend time with numbers, and what I found is that it's much more about. It's very hard to get the data, number one, and like you were saying, just human civilization is really unpredictable in a lot of ways that are really salient to the stock market, really key to the stock market. So it's super unpredictable, and I kind of quickly got, not quickly, but over time I got rolled. Like I mean, I lost that 30K, and I was like, all right, this is just too unpredictable. And I think it was kind of a once bitten, twice shy. I found that like with when I look at like crypto stuff now, where I'm like, this is just too unpredictable, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well. So this is we're going to turn this into a crypto show.
Let's go.
Yeah. So this is the way I look at it. And so it's, hey, it started in Canada. It's happened in China. Now it's happened in Russia and all this stuff. It's, if a government doesn't like what you're doing, and I've never been like a doomsday prepper. I've always been like, I'm in America. They're going to look out for us. But to me, cryptocurrency is actually more important to people not in a secure country.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But then it happened. This happened in Canada recently, where basically they blocked up the borders with the semi trucks because the importing what's causing vaccine mandates or whatever.
Right.
And Canada was like, okay, well, if you're going to do that and ruin our economy, we're just going to freeze your bank accounts.
Wow.
And so it's like, wait a minute, like that's an option. Like
the
government could just freeze my bank accounts, right? And then you'll occasionally hear stories where it's like, hey, my name is the same as I live in America.
Saddam Hussein or whatever.
I have the same name as a terrorist, and I live in America my whole life, but they froze my bank.
They froze my stuff.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I think, and I also understand it as like a hedge against. I'll say this: like, I really understand where a bank can kind of just look at what you're doing and just like sell your data to whoever.
Yeah.
Have some kind of a hedge as a way of protecting yourself and remaining anonymous. Like it's like, I don't need you don't need to know that I bought toilet paper or porn or weed or whatever. Like that's a secret. So I don't want you to look at that, Goldman Sachs or bank X.
Right.
So I understand the use of it. I think though that like the thing that I think scares folks, I think a lot of folks who would speculate on it and kind of like make money off of it is just that unpredictability aspect.
Right.
And I think that and honestly, one of the bots, full disclosure, I actually had an idea for a bot that is similar to what I think you described, which is just one that just scrapes. I'll just share this with your listeners, just a little gem. Like somebody make this and give me 10%, 50 because I thought of it. But like it's just something that like scrapes those kind of like whatever ICOs or just scrapes whatever the new coin launches are.
Right.
And then just buy, like you said, like just buy a $100 worth of each one of them. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And that I feel like that is, that's one way to make a move.
There was a guy, I was reading a thread on Reddit yesterday, and he bought $100 of the, I want to say the top 100 of all cryptocurrency options, and this was in 2018. He's done nothing else, but then he does like a quarterly report.
Nice.
I'm going to get these numbers wrong, but it was something like in that time period the stock market has been up like, I don't know, maybe it was 32% or something like that. But his crypto portfolio is up like 2,000%.
Right.
Yeah. And he did nothing but put $100 here, just random cherry picking. And, I like that because that's sort of been my approach because, I feel like the cryptocurrency space, you've got Bitcoin, which is its own unique thing. This was not created by a bank. It was not created by a venture capital, It was just a computer program let loose.
Right.
And so no one owns that. And so that seems very, very pure.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of all the other coins is, hey, I'm a hedge fund, I'm a VC.
Right.
Let's put $300 million into creating our own coin. And then we're going to put, 30 million in this business that uses this coin, and then 20 million in this business that uses the coin. And then the coin's going to be successful because we've built 20 businesses.
Like an economy. Right.
And so to me, that's like, well, it's anonymous. People aren't going to be knowing what I buy or sell, within the space. But it's all, there's a wizard behind the curtain.
Right, exactly. It kind of feels like your strings are being pulled because there was like the kind of a deliberate. It's like not inorganic, kind of an inorganic creative. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see like those guys battle it out, and I think. it'll have a place in our world.
Yeah.
It's I don't know which one's going to win. It'll probably come down to like there's going to be 4 or 5 that are like your most popular,
right? The main ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a few things. So like, I'll say this now. So I won't name the company that I work for right now. It's not too hard to look up. I'm not keeping a secret, but like it's out there. There's one thing. There's a few things I've kind of learned by seeing, what like how Silicon Valley folks, as a group, tend to like attack problems, and it's very much like an attack. Like it's like I gotta dominate. I gotta make much money as I can. It's like a very like energetic kind of way of doing it. And I think one of the things I've come to appreciate from seeing these folks in action is when there's a gold rush, you want to sell shovels. Like you want to be the dude who's sitting there selling jeans and pans and shovels to people, not necessarily the one who's like picked a stake or a plot of land to dig in, because that's a bet. Like it'll either have gold or it won't.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where a lot of my mind has been around the crypto stuff, where it's like, you know what, I don't understand crypto, I don't understand NFTs or this stuff, but damn, like people sure seem to be talking about it. How do I sell people shovels so they could be involved?
Well, let's talk digital shovels. Are you in the metaverse space at all?
That's another thing where like I have not stayed up late enough to read any of the things.
As a computer guy,
I know I'm the lamest computer guy already. I'm letting you read your listeners down, but tell me about it.
Yeah, no, well, I'm in the, so you can buy virtual real estate, right? And it's the same sort of thing. There's like 10, 12 different metaverses. Who knows which one's going to take off, or if any of them are going to take off.
I didn't know there were many. I thought there was just one.
Yeah. And so, but the idea is like you've got an avatar that can, work, travel in between these different metaverses.
Right.
So it's sort of like if you're going on vacation, you're going to a new country, and you have different currencies and different, customs and things like that. So the idea is kind of cool.
It sounds a lot like Second Life. I remember hearing that like the Second Life community actually has, for folks that are trying are going big into this. I do remember hearing that like the Second Life community has actually figured out quite a lot of stuff that I think the metaverse is gonna run into in a few years.
Right.
So I don't know. For what it's worth, I don't know anything. I don't know a damn thing about either.
Yeah.
But Second Life people were just like on Twitter being like, "We're gonna just check this out." So
right. Well, so what I'm getting at is like you can buy virtual real estate, which people ask me all the time because I'm in crypto and I'm in real estate.
Right.
And to me, it's also limited because they're not just going to say, well, we've ran out of virtual land. We're just, the world's going to double in size. I mean,
make more.
Technically they could, but that would devalue everything.
Sure.
But there's this huge ecosystem around it. It's like, hey, I am an architect of virtual design. So you buy your real estate, then you hire me, and then I will design your little house or your yacht or whatever it is. So like you're selling you're not the one buying the land.
Right. You're selling the shovels. Yeah. And man, I think like I really could go on about it so much because I often get people that come to me. So an example, like kind of like on the theme of expertise, like, and I think your listeners can relate to this. Whatever the thing is that you do that most people don't know how to do that well, usually it's the thing you get paid for. So like I'm a computer programmer, and folks come to me constantly like, "Hey, Sharif, I have a website idea. I want you to make me a website. I have an app idea. I want you to make this app." And it's general, and a lot of their ideas, I have no idea if their ideas will work out or not. But the ideas that I think are the best fleshed out, and the ideas that seem the most like interesting, and I would probably like stake my own money on, are ideas where it's somebody who goes from their own expertise.
Yeah.
But someone that's like, I'm a plumber and I did this, I know specifically, and plumbers are specifically in my mind because I have been extorted by so many plumbers as a Brooklyn homeowner. I'm just like, oh my God, these are like doctors. They're like the doctors of filth.
Right.
But they're experts that I've come to really respect, if not fear. But yeah, like it's like kind of. People will come to me with these ideas, and the ideas that they spend that are grounded in their expertise are usually so much richer. You can kind of tell when you talk to somebody who, as opposed to somebody who kind of just like has ideas. Like I think, what if we had a place where we can Uber for cheetahs or whatever, like scooters.
Yeah.
And so yes, I think like it's a really important skill to be able to ground whatever it is your venture is, even if it's not like the thing you do all day, whatever your venture is. It's cool to be able to ground that in your expertise and your lived experience. And I think like one other thing I'll say about like, it's cool to be able to recognize expertise. And that's a super useful thing that I think like just the world needs, period. Like people are doing their research on Google or whatever, just like about anything. Like in general, like just like it's cool to be able to recognize when like, oh damn, this person knows what they're talking about.
Right.
It's very useful. It's a super useful skill.
Yeah, it's funny because like it took me a while to come around to think that like what I knew in real estate was helpful to other people, because people would ask me all these questions and I was just like, yeah, just read this book or watch this YouTube, like, and like I didn't realize like I had read 100 books,
right,
and watched 20,000 hours of YouTube videos.
Wild knowledge in the back of your head, right?
And it was like, to me, it's like, yeah, like go do that. Like you're probably like, go get a PhD in physics. Like, like and so it's okay. You want a shortcut to the expertise? Okay, here I get it now. Like
I do think that but I do think that it is a good call out. Is like there really aren't that many shortcuts to like real expertise. Like and I will also say this. I think like like about you specifically, I think like it's really important to understand one's appetites and one's like passions. Like I think you as like like your superpower, based on reading your book, Millionaire by 30 by Alan Corey. Check it out, Random House Press.
Nice.
It's like there. I guessed that. I assume. But yeah, like is your superpower is the ability to be relentlessly cheap, like right, like that was the thing. It was just like the cheapest possible dude. It was like Alan is gonna, he like tricked himself and then forgetting how much money he actually has, like a memento thing, and like tattooed it on his body, and then it's like, I have an extra 100, or like, I have an extra $1,000. I had no idea. Shit. Well, let me spend this on my house. So like, not everybody has that passion, right? Not everybody wants to sit down on a computer all day, like me, program. Not everybody can like, mess with the level of just like austerity that you did for a decade or however long you did to save up to buy your first, New York City property. But I do think that that's a big ingredient to getting there and to like building that expertise and kind of, making it, so to speak, is recognizing what that passion is. So
well, I knew I couldn't program a dating app, but I was like, man, if I own a couple properties in Brooklyn, maybe I'll get a girlfriend.
And now you got 3 kids. See that? You see that attitude where that got you?
So, but I feel like you're maybe contradicting yourself a little bit, because you say you got to recognize expertise,
right?
But then you're like, I don't trust what Zillow's telling me. Like,
right? So, no, it's true. You're right, and it's true, man. I mean, you know what it is. I think that's good. That's a good call out. I do think, right, that like there is such a thing as expertise. There's also such a thing as motivation. Like, what is Zillow's motivation in showing me this information? Well, Zillow gets paid because they want you to buy real estate, and they want you to buy the real estate that they recommend, and specifically in these areas. And they do have a lot of data, so it's important to be able to like both find experts that you trust and experts that really don't. Like, if your friend comes to you and is like, hey, how do I get into real estate? You have nothing but goodwill for that friend. You're just like, here's the answer that's best I can give. Like, I'm not going to make like $10 off of you, but here's the answer, because whatever. For just for a company, I think that has like a bottom line, it's different. Where things that I try to take stuff that I can verify, like their data, like Zillow's data is like, hey, this unit is 1,400 square feet. Like, you can fight with me, like I'm trying to make money, but like that is correct. You can go and measure yourself. And I'm like, I trust you, Zillow. Thank you. I grab that information. For stuff where it's like Zillow's recommendations, I take that stuff. It's data, but I'm not going to blindly follow that stuff. As we see, right? I mean, have you? I'm assuming you've been following the real fallout from
their iBuying program.
I think so, right? It was one where there was like, brrr.
So they used to buy houses based on the algorithm, the purchase price of the algorithm, and it's funny because the CEO at the time, Spencer Ratcliffe, sold his house for $500,000 less than what the Zillow estimate said it was.
Right. That's like,
Yeah, and so they got into this thing where they were getting, like, as a realtor, like, someone's like, well, Zillow, offered me so much money, and you're like, that is a ridiculous number, and
right.
you should take it. Right, like that makes no sense. Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't stop at Zillow. Open Door does the same thing. I sold 6 properties to Open Door, probably double than what I thought they were worth.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't know what your algorithms are saying, but it makes no sense. So my hunch is what they're trying to do is really replace the real estate agent, because I still had to pay them 5% real estate agent commission fee. And if you look at their numbers, like if they're making 5%, they're making the same as like a top producing real estate agent.
Wow.
But they have to buy the house. Like why don't you just focus on being a top producing real estate agent?
Just be the middleman, right?
Yeah. And rather than buying the house. But also, I think they're trying to teach the home buyer and the home seller, first things first, go to Zillow and see if they'll buy it. Or first things first, let's go to Open Door. And then Open Door now will say, hey, we'll buy your house, but you've got to get an Open Door or Zillow mortgage to buy your next house. And so they're going to add all these a la carte and extra services on top. And they're like, we're going to lose money buying your house, but we're going to make up it somewhere else. So one of the most frustrating things is someone's like, hey, Alan, my house is worth $600,000 because that's what Zillow tells me. And I'm like, it's really worth $450,000. and I instantly look like I don't know what I'm talking about, because everyone trusts the Zillow's estimate.
Right. We've all heard of it.
Yeah. Like Zillow doesn't know you're in a floodplain, and doesn't know that there's doesn't even look that there's a train track that goes, half on your property in an easement. Like there's power lines overhead, and 10 people have been murdered in this house, like, whatever it is. Like, they only look at the square footage and the zip code. They don't look at all these other things.
Yeah, man. I think like just to kind of interject that, I do think like that is like a perfect example of just the triumph of expertise, right? Because so I do machine learning all day. Like I work on machine learning stuff all day. I think about it all day. Computers aren't that smart. Like computers are doing their best.
Yeah,
like they're great at chess. They're great at like the game of Go. They are like shitty at like, driving. Sorry, they're not that good at driving. Like they can't like cross the street. And and like in general, a human being that really knows a market, as you do, are gonna crush just like just like some machine learning algorithm that somebody spent a lot of time on. So
you don't see a future where that is equal. You're saying a human will always beat out a computer.
I'm not saying always, man. I mean, eventually there are people are going to figure stuff out. But I do believe that it's instructive, I think, for your listeners to like really pay attention to just, hey, if you find somebody who does this all the time, you trust that person a lot. That person does it all the time. And I think like even the fact like you're able to rattle off without even being in front of a property, like 5, 6, I don't know how many things that power lines, so like 5 or 6 different things that like this computer can't do off the top of your head effortlessly. Right. So I think that's also another way to like recognize like people that really know what they're talking about in terms of expertise. Is like usually when you talk to like a real expert, the picture gets muddier, like not clearer. It's like, I don't know if folks have heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's like folks like the less you know, the more you think you know. And the more people like understand a phenomenon, the more kind of humble and like questioning, like, I'm not sure. Like that's the most knowledgeable sound. Usually it's like, I don't know, because that's like the person who's like, no, it's this. The person has they have no idea. They have no idea. The person like, and that kind of carries into physics and to like the things that I spend a lot of time an expert in. It's usually the person who's kind of like thinking and scratching their I don't know. Like that person knows what they're talking about. You should listen to them.
I like that. Because people are always like, what should I invest in? And it's like, well, here's all the pros and all the cons of this investment. Here's all the pros and all the cons. Like, there's no like single winner.
Oh yeah, it's just buy this thing. Buy this thing. That's it. The magic coin. Right. Because everyone would have done that. Because like that's the thing, right? So
right. And what's a good buy today might not be a good buy. You don't hold that advice for 3 months, because it could change, right? In the crypto world, it changes every 30 minutes. But
it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's scary. It's scary to me.
Well, Sharif, this has been fun. It's been
Yeah.
good catching up. It's been too long since I've seen your face. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to cut my hair next time. Next time you have me on, man, I'll try about the haircut by then.
Okay, well, awesome. And next time I'm gonna come. I'm gonna make an effort to come through New York, and I want to
hit
see
me
you
up.
and the family. And
Hit me up, yeah.
let me know if you ever come through Atlanta for anything. But
One day.
anything you want to pitch or promote, or if someone wants to follow you, reach out. What do you recommend?
Yeah, I'm on like I'm on Twitter, but like I have like one follow. I mean, I'm on hit me up on LinkedIn. Actually, it's so weird. It's like hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just Sharif Corinaldi. It's my name. Yeah, I don't have anything to pitch or promote, but folks, yeah, definitely. I'm always curious, always happy to talk about ML stuff and real estate stuff, and even crypto stuff if somebody understands it and wants to explain it. So
Well, how about this? I'll challenge you. Like have you bought some crypto?
I have bought like $200 because my cousin demanded it. So
Okay.
I was like,
I'm
all
gonna
right, I own
demand it.
Bitcoin.
Like,
Yeah.
You can do dollar cost averaging in Bitcoin. Like that's just the
Okay.
safest. Just
Okay.
do that. Go to Linktree / the House of AC. You can join my Coinbase account. You get 10 free bucks. And
Oh, okay.
I do too.
All
And then I'll buy you a beer when I see you
All right.
with that $10. But
All
that's really easy. And to me, it's
First
worth.
foot in the door.
Yeah, I forget who said this, but it's very speculative,
Mhm.
but it's such an asymmetric bet that
Right.
it's worth it, right?
The expectation value of
Yeah.
like the odds times the actual outcome is pretty big. So
Yeah, so
Cool.
you might as well throw $100 in it, and it could turn into $1 million, or you lost $100, but it was fun trying.
I'll blame you. It's like more money I paid to Alan.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah,
Sharif.
thanks, man.
As always, it's been great, and can't wait to have you back.
Cool.